He pulled out his phone and started looking up family therapists in our area. Linda watched him with this unhappy expression, but she didn't argue or make excuses. Frank found someone named Catherine Flynn, who had good reviews and specialized in blended family issues. He called and made an appointment for the following week. Linda said she didn't think therapy was necessary and they could work things out themselves. Frank looked at her and said this wasn't optional if she wanted their marriage to continue. His voice was calm but firm, and Linda's face went pale. She nodded and said she'd go. Frank scheduled the appointment for all 5 of us and wrote it on the calendar in the kitchen. Tom and Bobby came downstairs and asked what was happening. Frank explained we'd be going to family therapy to work through some issues. Tom looked at Linda and said it was about time someone made her face what she'd been doing. Linda opened her mouth like she wanted to respond, but closed it again and looked down at her hands. The first therapy session was in a small office with comfortable chairs and soft lighting. Catherine Flynn was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a calm voice. She asked us each to introduce ourselves and then said she wanted to hear from everyone about their experience of the blended family. Linda went first and started talking about how hard it was to blend 2 families together. She said she'd felt excluded from Frank and the boys' relationship, and like she was always on the outside looking in. She talked about how I seemed to fit in so easily while she struggled to find her place. Tom interrupted her mid-sentence and said that wasn't true at all. He listed specific examples of how Linda had actively excluded me from family activities. He brought up the times she'd said I was grounded when I wasn't, and the times she'd claimed I was sick when the boys wanted me to come along. Bobby added that Linda had tried to keep me from coming to Japan with multiple lies. Frank backed them up and told Catherine about the fake grandmother story and the wrong terminal number. Linda's face turned red and she tried to defend herself, but Catherine held up her hand and asked her to listen to what her family was saying. Catherine looked at Linda and said that from what she was hearing, Linda's jealousy stemmed from her own feelings about herself, rather than anything I actually did. She asked Linda to think about why she felt threatened by a teenage girl, instead of embracing her as part of the family. Linda was quiet for a long time before answering. She said she'd always had trouble when other people got attention she thought should be hers. She talked about growing up with a sister who was prettier and more popular, and how their parents always seemed to favor her. She said when she married Frank and saw how easily his sons accepted me, it brought back all those old feelings of not being good enough. Catherine nodded and said that made sense, but pointed out that Linda had taken those feelings out on me instead of dealing with them herself. She asked Linda if she could see how her behavior had hurt me and damaged her relationship with her own family. Linda nodded slowly and wiped her eyes, but she still wouldn't look at me directly. Over the next few weeks, we went to therapy every Wednesday after school. Linda started acknowledging specific things she'd done to exclude me. She admitted lying about the airline tickets and giving me the wrong terminal number. She talked about the times she'd made up excuses to keep me from family activities. She said she'd been jealous of how much Frank and the boys liked me, and it made her feel like she was losing her family to me. Catherine asked her to think about why she saw